Ever Bristol City podcast the morning after the night before, and we're in a joyous mood because the final score at Ashton Gate under the lights, it finished City 3, Southampton 1. We're on 19 points with 11 games played, and for a team that has got a striker crisis, so we're told, only Southampton have scored more goals. Goal difference of +8. What is not to like about the way we've come back after the last international break? 2 wins and two fine displays as well. I'm delighted today to be joined by Dave Tubby and Mark Tubby, as usual, who are distantly related, and making his first appearance this season is Les. As we do, a brief synopsis of the game as you walked away or switched your TV off at the end of it. You first, Mark, what were your thoughts on the final whistle?
Statement win from City with brilliant pressing. Started the game poorly and looked like Southampton were going to dominate us, and scored a deserved goal after half an hour from Armstrong. And then we hit back strongly and continued on that theme in the second half. It doesn't matter how much possession you have, but the number of goals that you get on the score sheet, and that's what City did. Clinical in the right areas. Sinclair Armstrong had a decent game off the bench, and that was quite a brave decision, I thought, from Gerard Struber, putting him on 8 minutes into the second half. But boy, did it pay off. And 24,000 crowds, so we're told, although of course they only count the season ticket holders. But what a great night. Back-to-back wins in the Championship, and we're at the 4th.
Absolutely. Dave, your thoughts from afar in Germany?
Resilience, taking punches from the opposition. You know, a side that started the game very, very well, and finding a way to stay in the contest, finding out who this side are under Struber, and by the end of it, deserving to win. You know, that within a game is what you call bounce back ability. It was nervous in that first half an hour, but the way they found their feet, the way they came back, they deserved to beat Southampton yesterday.
Yeah. Les, I know you've got views on the first half hour, but it's what you do over the full 90. But what were your thoughts come the final whistle? You got to be pleased.
Oh yeah, obviously you're pleased you win because you're playing a decent side, even though they haven't made a great start to the season. I thought the first 30 minutes we were dire.
Yeah.
You're second to every ball. In possession, it's the worst I've seen for a very long time.
Yeah.
And we couldn't cope with their press. But as bad as the first 30 minutes were, I thought the last 30 minutes we controlled the game. And Southampton, their heads dropped when we went 2-1 up. But I think we won that game because Southampton didn't take their chances. If they take them chances at 1-1, it's a very, very different game. And when you miss a header from 4 yards out with an open goal, or you miss a 1-on-1 at the end of the first half and you clean through. I mean, I thought second half we were much better, but I don't share this idea that it was an outstanding performance. So I thought we got slightly fortunate with their missed chances.
Interesting. And I do know what you mean, because one stat I'll throw in here. Possession, we know they dominated with 67%. 13 shots from us, 4 on target, 14 from them, 7 on target. Vitek made 6 saves against McCarthy. Their goalkeeper only made 1, right? And those saves that Vitek made will come on when we go through the action, but they came very much at vital times. Dave, the lineup, City, the team is picking itself at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, it was a straight swap. Sykes for McCrory. Yeah, the team, it is what it is right now, isn't it?
That's where we are. It is what it is. There's probably going to be one change each game, and it's a question of when do you take the risk of the legs becoming tired? And I think in a way that was possibly an element of the start of that game yesterday, with a higher intensity that we struggled to match. Or when do you start seeing the changes? You know, but in terms of the side, it kind of picks itself. Each time you make a change, the drop feels like it's too much. It's a challenging position, and going forward, my worry is that it catches up with us. But yeah, that's the side until it's not, really.
Mark, I mean, their team, we talk about we're not able to rotate, but I mean, they've got some good players there. We did absorb a lot of pressure in that opening half hour, and I thought it was, we were poor, but were we sort of conserving energy? Because although they had all that possession, they weren't exactly piling forward, were they? And testing us.
I think they pushed up and penned us in the half for virtually the first half an hour. We were second to every ball. We were just like headless chickens. We couldn't play the ball out for any time, and we just kept giving the ball back. And the goal was a kick up the ass for us, really, because we were so far behind in the game. We looked like we were, if the first goal was going to be one of many. So it's just a question of how many they would score. It seemed early on. Every time we just booted the ball aimlessly out. We didn't have any out balls, and Southampton that well in control. Considering, I mean, they've traded well over the summer. They cleared out, well, it's listed about £70 million worth of players with a couple of undisclosed, and spent about 40 million. So they traded pretty well. But it doesn't seem really made a difference to their performances. Only 2 wins in their first 11, which is quite surprising for a team with parachute payments.
Yeah.
And the transfer fees they've been able to spend, and 6 draws and 3 defeats now. So they're down in 17th place and seemingly struggling. But if they'd have taken their chances, it could have been a different game. But that's football for you.
That's the way it goes, isn't it? Yeah.
We said the same thing plenty of times ourselves.
Yeah. Les, the relegated teams, I mean, Ipswich got gubbed at home 3-0 by Charlton, who were right up there in the playoffs. The relegated teams aren't doing so well this season, and they've got a new manager in that Will Still. To me, if you look at Southampton's fans forum, he's getting the same amount of stick that Liam Manning is getting for trying to be technically very good. But why do you think the relegated sides aren't doing so well? I mean, they were all crap in the Premier League last season. So is that just illustrative of that fact?
I think momentum's quite difficult to turn around sometimes. And they had such poor seasons last year that they haven't been able to turn it around. You throw in a new manager or 2 new managers with different, well, I don't know if it's different philosophies, but trying to get their ideas across, it might take time. I think the surprising one for me is Ipswich, because they've kept a lot of very good players, and they've obviously got a manager who was linked with Tottenham, he was linked with Man United. The other 2, I think, are less of a surprise. I was surprised Cifuentes, they went for Cifuentes. He's I find quite a negative defensive manager, which I didn't think would be associated with Leicester's players. And Will Still's a bit of a joker in the pack, you know what I mean? He's inexperienced. He's done very well at 1 or 2 clubs, but it's a different challenge in the Championship. And I thought they were good going forward, but at the back, they were leaving gaps, which we obviously exploited.
Yeah, no, that's true. Let's get into the action then, Dave. I mean, they had a very early chance on 4 minutes when Archer put the ball over. Armstrong brought a save from Vitek with a K. Graham C on the OTID, not Vitek with a C. That's the name of a electronics company. So my apologies there for that error. We were penned back. I think I tweeted after 15 minutes. We haven't got out of our half. So that showed our resilience there, didn't we?
The issue was that, first of all, in possession, the ball just wasn't sticking. Too much loose control, almost too rushed at times. I think we were looking to do the right things, but it's a test of philosophy when if you keep giving it away all the time and you keep miscontrolling it. But it was more out of possession. I felt like we were too respectful in that first 20 minutes, giving them too much time on the ball, trying to hold a position. But when you have quality players and you give them time, they're going to dictate the game. And we were too often, we weren't on them enough. We weren't intense enough in that opening phase. And it just felt like if they keep testing us, if they keep asking the questions, eventually they're going to score. And that's what ended up happening.
Mark, somebody said on the text feed here, and he's obviously referring this to the early stages of the game, but Dharma said on here, the only negative for him was how easy it is for a striker to lose Atkinson. We'll pick individual player performances. So let's start with you, Mark, on Rob Atkinson. Is it too easy for a striker to turn Rob? I thought he had another good game, imperious at the back with Dickey. Your thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, if we come on to the goal, should we come on to that example?
Right, pick it up for the goal. Yeah,
he Shea Charles gets the ball, just over the halfway line and plays a pass between Borges and Atkinson. And Atkinson really should be filling in a bit more to the left. So he leaves too much space, and he's basically clutching the air. And Armstrong's playing on his shoulder and beats him quite easily. It was just a case of him being a bad position at positional play, and him being slightly out of position there to intercept the ball. But other than that, I don't think he had a bad game. I thought George Tanner was probably our best defender last night.
Yeah.
But Atkinson didn't have a bad game, but there, bad positional play. And again, maybe also for the other one where he gets caught out by Archer that will come on to. I'll just acknowledge something that Michael Fresher said. Unless they've made a mistake on one of the websites, Zach Viner's only got 4 yellows, not 5. He got booked against Norwich, but I don't think he was booked last night. So he's 1 game away from a 1-match ban. I don't know when the deadline is. It's usually 1 in November after a certain number of games, where you start all over again if you don't hit 5 yellows.
Yeah. Got to say, nice little comment on the text feed from TS, who spoke to me at half time. Wanted to thank all of us for doing the pod. So good to meet you, and I'm glad you enjoyed listening to it in your cab. So you're watching it today, but I know you listen on the podcast platforms as well. Les, the opening goal, could it have been better defended? They put a couple of through balls in, holes in the defence, and people say with the Red Bull style of football, you are going to leave gaps at the back. Could that have been better defended in your view?
Well, I mean, for the first half an hour, I can't remember a time where we string 2 or 3 passes together for a start. And our midfield too were getting completely overrun. So Shea Charles had a lot of time on the ball. Armstrong's very good at peeling off defenders. Do you know what I mean? He's quite a clever forward. And Atkinson has taken a step out when he hasn't needed a step out. And that's just giving him a free run on goal. And it's a good finish, little dink over the keeper. But yeah, in the Championship, if you lose that midfield battle, you're going to really struggle. And it looked, from my view, that it was only a matter of time because of how poorly we started and how poor we were with the ball.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It was a really good ball. He's a good player, Shea Charles. You know what I mean? He's a very good Championship midfielder. It's a really good ball. It's a really good movement. It's a good run. Atkinson has made a mistake, and it's a good finish. So that's what good teams can do.
Sean, Dave, Toby, Sean Reed says here on the text feed, do we think Vitek went to ground a little bit too easy for that one? He said similar to Hull's first goal a few months back. Well, about 8 weeks ago, actually. It seems a long time ago since our last home win.
No, I don't think so. He's trying to make himself as big as possible. He's trying to cover as much as he can, and you can't expect a keeper to be absolutely perfect in those kind of spots. I think you have to give credit to the finish. What concerned me more was the amount of time that Charles had on the ball. When you look at it, it's not a breakaway. It's just a couple of headers, fighting for possession, and he's literally in the middle of the pitch, and he's got as long as he wants to make a decision. That wasn't even his first initial look. He's thinking about going wide or doing something else. But in the end, the ball just opens up. And if you give Championship players or any player that amount of time, they're going to do something with it. And yeah, Atkinson makes a few errors, but he's being exposed by the lack of protection in front of him, and he's having to make a decision. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I move? Where's my position? And Armstrong's a very clever striker. He gets in that space, and it's a very good finish.
Yeah, no, it is. But, Mark, we bounced back as we needed to do. I mean, I was fearful when we went 1-0 down. I thought, they were worthy of that lead, you have to say, but we bounced straight back, and it was a well-crafted goal. I mean, Dickey, the instigator, took a deflection. But Anis, how did you rate the goal? How did you rate his performance last night?
Well, the strange thing is the goal comes from Southampton's pressing, and they're not doing anything wrong. They're pressing us onto the edge of our area, and Dickey does an audacious turn, really. I mean, you think if he treads on the ball, he lets in one of their strikers, I don't know whether it was Armstrong. So he turns him and just hits the ball through the middle of the pitch. Nathan Wood, the Southampton centre-back, takes a kick at it and slices it behind him. So, but Mehmeti's onside anyway. Watched it on Sky. He's on the line, looks right along the line, and he's just played onside. Waits for the ball to bounce down, controls it well, strides forward with Wood running back and just hits it first time down into the ground, wide of Alex McCarthy into the corner. It's a great finish from a player who's missed a few one-on-ones in his time, and hopefully can finish like that again. But the strange thing is Southampton do everything right by pressing us back towards our own area. Dickey takes that turn, just plays the ball straight down the middle of the pitch, and the defender makes a mistake, and it's a goal 2 minutes and 40 seconds after they score. And the game's changed completely.
I said, Dave, Tavi, with Mehmeti, when he gets his feet in a tangle sometimes, and he's missed chances this season. He's a better player now than he was when he joined us. But if he finishes with the skill that he showed yesterday, he's going to have. I don't think he'll quite get Premier League level, but he's going to have the pick of Championship. He's got to get a good deal for himself in the summer if he gets into double figures again this year, isn't he?
To take you back a year, 18 months ago, he was referred to as a 1 in 8 player. The frustration is he doesn't deliver anything. We're 11 games into this season, and he's got 5 goals and 3 assists. Like, that's what you call stepping up a level. Last season, I don't think he had too many, if any, assists. He's delivering it on multifacets. And what I liked about that finish yesterday is before he hits it, he takes a little peek just to see if he's got enough time. That defender's coming across. In do I hit this now, or do I need to drag it back and go around the other side? You realise he's got the time, and it's a quality finish. But again, with Dickey, the pass itself comes from having that time that he's created on his own. And I think Reece actually makes the run, which kind of gets in the way of Anis's run. If Reece doesn't make that run, there isn't a deflection, and Anis gets the ball anyway. So sometimes you make your own luck with the pass that you make. And ultimately, we're continuously looking to do those things all game. Even though we've been under the cosh for half an hour, still looking to make things happen. It was a real test of philosophy yesterday. And that first goal was an example of coming through that with flying colours.
Les, right foot finish from him as well. Good goal. I mean, Southampton would be disappointed to concede so soon after that they took the lead.
I mean, I thought it was a great finish. I think his first touch, he got it almost a little bit caught under his feet. But he has a habit of taking too many touches, and he didn't, and he slotted it in the back corner. I mean, people talk about that Oxford goal where he smashed it in the top corner. I thought his finish yesterday was just as good as that, if not better. And it was important because, we were being overrun, we weren't playing well. And there's still sections of our fan base who slate him for being inconsistent. But if he was on a longer contract, he could be going for 10 million quid. If you're getting 5 goals and 3 assists in 10 games or 11 games or whatever it is, and we're not going to be able to keep hold of him, are we, in the summer?
Well, this is let's divert from the action a little bit and talk about contracts, and I'll stick with you on that. I was listening to Chris Honor the other day, yesterday before the game, and there's 2 players. I mean, there's loads of players out of contract in the summer, but let's just look at Mehmeti and Viner. Chris's view was give Viner what he wants, give Mehmeti what they want, and at some point you've got to say bugger the wage structure, because if you've got ambition and you're going to grow, then part of growth is retaining players. Because Les, you first on this, the cost of replacing maybe Mehmeti once away. When I saw Viner's face at the final whistle on Norwich, somebody did a close-up player cam. He's playing with 100% commitment, and he could get an ACL, which could ruin that chance of a move in the summer. So you cannot fault their commitment at the moment. But the cost of replacing Viner and Mehmeti, and I think Chris said this after the game last night as well, they're known players, they're settled in the area, and the cost of replacement is greater than the cost of giving them what they want. So what's your view on that? Or just
it's all well and good, Dave, but if a Burnley or a Leeds or a lower-end Premier League club come in for either of them and offer them 40, 50 grand a week, then we haven't got a chance.
We haven't got a chance. No.
And, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that Zach Viner had the potential to be playing Premier League football, I mean, I was one of those people. I remember that Brighton game where he played right back, and I was thinking this guy's never, ever going to make it at this level. But I genuinely sat here now, can see Viner being a decent squad player in a lower end Prem club.
Well, you mean like a Brentford, who he was linked with a couple of years ago?
Exactly. Yeah. And if a lower end Prem club come in and offer him, I don't know, like I said, 40, 50 grand a week, we can't compete with that. And the club made the decision. The club made the decision in the summer. You know, they're running the risk. You know, and that's
Dave. Your views on this? Dave, your views on this? We've diverted away from the action a little bit, but what do you think?
If you want to keep him, you get promoted. Because just to throw it to you, if you were either of those players, would you sign a contract? I wouldn't. No way. If I'm playing that well, you back yourself as a player to get as much money as you can in this day and age, because loyalty works both ways. And let's face it, there isn't none in football.
Yeah.
Why would they sign? And Paul Binning has written there that Anis is one of the best players in the attacking players in the Championship. You have to agree with him. He is our biggest threat. He has been for some time, and it's taken a little bit of time for our old ways of thinking about him to go. He's a threat in every game. As I said before, 11 games, 5 goals, 3 assists this season. That's a hell of a start. And I think that we still underappreciate just how good he is.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have been saying that 12 months ago. Mark Tom of Robin's Nest, he said, I'm only feeling if we keep Anis, if we get promoted. And that's what the other guys have pretty much said as well. The club are doing all they can, bigging him up for the appearance record. That's Zach Viner. I mean, Zach Viner, it was Wrexham who were interested in him, and allegedly he was being offered a figure of 25 grand a week, has been mentioned at Wrexham. They offered 3 million. Yeah. Zach's playing with a level of commitment that, you know, he's enjoying his football. He's playing out of position at the moment. Do you think he'll get a better offer than Wrexham, or the fact that he can go in the summer, Wrexham could say, well, we just saved 3 million, our 25 grand a week, we'll make you our best player on 35 grand a week. What would you do with Viner, Mark?
I think he's just going to run down his contract. I mean, I think we're mid-table in terms of wages in the Championship, according to the fans forum. So he's going to get better offers. I don't think he can play in the Premier League. 28. I think he's not sharp enough to be a Premier League defender, but he can play in the upper reaches of the Championships at the likes of an Ipswich, or, you know, teams that have come down. You've got a bit of money. You know, I'm just talking hypothetically. I'm not saying he'd go there, but I think he goes at the end of the season. We only keep him if he's if we get promoted, because City aren't going to change their wage structure. So that means he goes. It's just one of those things. And the same from Messi. He only stays. Would City make an improved offer? He could probably do better elsewhere. I'm resigned to him and Anis going, and Mark Sykes.
Well, maybe Max O'Leary as well, because
money talks.
Yeah, the way Vitek's playing, Max is going to end up getting splinters in his ass for the remainder of the season. But there we go. Paul Binning on the text feed makes a very good point. The other thing with a pair of them is, touch wood, they're both able to play 90 minutes every week. There's an understated value to that.
Well, just on that note, David, according to Sky, I think Zach Vine has played every minute, every game, you know, during this season and last, which is
that's
incredible,
a better record than Jason Knight. Dave, sometimes we see routines that they're practicing on the training ground. It was towards the end of the first half when the ball was in Twine territory on the Lansdowne side, on the left-hand side, and the ball was played to Dickey. That was one that they need to go back to the drawing board a bit with that. Do you remember that one just before half-time?
The one with the Borges shot, you mean?
I don't know. There was one routine there was one routine where it looked to go awfully wrong, and
the one I remember just before half time is where Borges basically shoots and it kind of goes like to the moon, basically. Like it's like a works for a kick.
Was it Borges that shot it over? I thought it was Dickey. Yeah. Right, sorry.
No,
it was Borges. It was in Aston Park, I think. So it must have hit 3 birds in Aston Park. It's going that far over.
I don't mind it. You know, we're trying stuff. We're trying to be inventive. At the end of the day, we're getting a shot in the middle of the pitch off on goal. Sometimes the execution isn't always going to be there, but it's something different. It's a threat, and every now and again they come off, and it's probably worth a couple of goals to you over a season. So it might not have gone well yesterday, but trying things, it's good.
Yeah. Les, we said or questioned whether Vitek went down too early for their goal, but again, I put this as one of the crucial saves that he did. Now, where does crucial become routine? But a minute before the interval, Archer was through again. Vitek stood up and just made himself big in a Peter Schmeichel type way, didn't he? I mean, that was good goalkeeping. Goalkeeping of the highest order, wasn't it?
Yeah, Reece gave away the ball from our throw-in and they just cut us through in 2 passes. And Archer's gone through and he's, from what I've read, he's quite low on confidence and he's hit it hard, but Vitek spread himself. I mean, they spent 15 million quid on Cameron Archer and that's an initial fee. So it'll be even more with add-ons, and it just shows you, confidence is everything in football when money doesn't buy necessarily.
Well, who did he come from, Cameron Archer?
I can't remember. He was
Sheffield, I think at Sheffield United. He was on loan. He started off at Villa, was on loan at Middlesbrough in the season they got in the playoffs 2 or 3 seasons ago. And I think Sheffield United snatched him up, and Southampton signed him last season, didn't they? So he's been there a season. Didn't do anything in the Premier.
He hasn't been getting in their side, and it was a very different finish to Armstrong, who obviously showed real class with that little dink. And we got lucky, and it was just testament to that first half where we just couldn't keep control of the ball. I mean, we came back into it between about 35 and 40 odd minutes.
We did.
But you can't make mistakes like that. You can't be cut through in 2 passes. And Vitek is showing us, why we're not going to be able to sign him, because he's going to be a top keeper now. And
I mean, Dave, do you think United, they could recall him if they wanted to? Yeah. If he carries on like this, I said Max is not going to get his place back unless Gerrard rotates for the FA Cup. United call him because another Premier League club could say, "Oh, we wouldn't mind your goalkeeper." He's going to be easily worth 10 points to us this season, isn't he? He saved us in games, and in fact, just after that save where he made himself big, I think it was the header that Les alluded to right at the start of the podcast, where it was a free header, and he makes it easy. And as Tom of Robin's Nest has said on the text feed here, one thing that really impresses him with Vitek is how he anticipates the flight of the ball and collecting the ball from long opposition passes. What do you say to that, Dave?
Well, take that one-on-one yesterday. First of all, we experienced our own version of chaos. As Les rightly points out, we lose the ball and he's one-on-one. And I think that other players are now aware of him, opposition strikers. He has a bit of a myth and a bit of a legend about him. They know they've got to do something extra to beat him. And he makes himself so big. He's so imposing. And that is a world-class save. You might analyse it and he hits his chest. But he makes himself so big that the striker feels like he has to do more. They're not just tucking it around the outside, because he puts that kind of pressure on. He's good at everything. He's commanding. And you might be right. He might well move on in January because they feel like they can get another loan, as we've done with one of our academy players in recent weeks. But what I would say is, if we are challenging near the top as we are right now, it might just be beneficial to let him stay. You want to go through a season like that because you're experiencing that winning mentality of being in games, of building something. So I don't think they'll recall him, but you can't write it off.
Dave, he also seems to be really enjoying it here as well.
Yeah.
The way he celebrates at the end of games. This is someone who's
Norwich, classic example, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean,
he really clearly, some loan players, treat it as an opportunity to just get some minutes, but don't really invest. He clearly is emotionally invested in what we're doing, so that might benefit us.
Yeah,
keeping him for the
Mark,
whole.
how did you feel at half-time, Mark? Sort of relieved that we'd gone in all square?
Yeah, knowing it was a very fine line between, being 1-0, 1 or 2-0 down and it being 1-1. Just wondering how the second half is going to go. Would our levels drop off, or would we be able to compete with them? There's a chance for Struber to get the side in. The press wasn't working. The intensity wasn't there for the first half hour. But I just got to go back to Vitek. The difference between Vitek being recalled and not is the fact that he's a guaranteed starter, isn't he, with City? If he was an outfield player, it wouldn't necessarily be the case. So he's a guaranteed starter for us. United are going to look how he organises his defence. Now he gets in players' heads. If they beat our back line when we're a bit square, they still got to beat a player like that. Great upper body strength teams can't put the ball under the bar from corners like they do and hassle Max because he's not as strong physically. So they've got to look for the second ball all the time. Yeah, halftime comes, we're still in the game. That's the big question, because we were a bit fortunate. We got a goal because we were clinical, but we were still in the game. But we had it all to do. Could we pick up the intensity levels? And, you know, lead us in, David.
Here we go.
Lead
well,
on.
Second half. Look, I have to say, and it's going to be the same on Saturday, 3,000. I mean, I know you said, Mark, not everybody was there because they count season tickets if they don't attend, but 3,000 on a Tuesday night, 24,000 when there's Champions League football on TV. The game itself is on TV, right? But 3,000 Southampton fans came up, right? For them, I mean, our fans, we got better as the game went on. But this is an advantage that we're giving teams because Southampton were attacking a home end, yeah? And I mustn't keep saying yeah at the end of all my sentences. That's what you picked me up on a year ago, yeah? Remember that, Dave? Yeah. But look, for me, I think it's got to be changed. We can't change it mid-season. And my solution, I'll say this now, is that, and it was interesting at Norwich, we got 2 blocks on the side at Carrow Road at a weekend. What we should do, that's that corner of the ground of the Atio and blocks A and B of the Dolman, that should be for the away supporters. So the away supporters go in that gap between where that new mural is by the Dolman stand. You have to partition off the Dolman stand, which is tough on all those fans in blocks C, D, E, F, G, and H, because they'll have to go in through Rains Road or Ashton Park, or that very narrow walkway, which it is now at the back of the Lansdowne. That'll change when all the development's done. But I think that gives visiting teams an advantage. Dave, am I right with that view?
You are, but first of all, is demand there to go in the Atio from home fans? Is there a demand to go into that end? Because when you see the whole away end section, I mean, it does feel like at times like the ball's being sucked that way. But at the same time, if you move them around, do people want to go there? The lesser of the stands, the older of the stands that we have, I'm not sure there would be that necessary demand to get out.
No, it's a good point. But Dave, sorry, Mark, I'll ask you this. I would say those people that stand in section 82, who are our ultras, if you said to them, do you want to stand there? And that's that group. Do you want to stand there, or do you want to stand behind the goal separated by a little bit of netting? Because I'm only saying one or 2 blocks, because, you know, when there's the demand for the away supporters, that's the overflow is into the Atio. Yeah, so blocks A and B, Dolman, that's away fans. The overflow, if there's 2,000 plus, is in those M blocks. Do you think our ultras would welcome the chance to go into the Atio and have from as far behind the goal across to the Lansdowne as is possible and have that as our singing end?
Yeah, possibly. But remember, it's safe standing in section 82, not seating. So there's a difference between standing behind low seats, which can be dangerous, and actually standing in safe seating where they're high back seats. So that's the difference between safe standing and standing behind seats. So yeah, I think it would give us a much better atmosphere, but it's down to the fan safety group, the police, and the club to coordinate it. And I think it's a lesser of 2 evils to put them behind, and it's all about money. Somebody was talking to me last night about Norwich's American owners are considering actually changing, moving the away fans behind the goal because it opens up some sort of bar area in the corner where we're currently seated.
What's that, Mark?
So
sorry,
I just think it comes. Somebody told me last night. I think it was Pete told me last night that Norwich are actually considering moving away fans behind the goal to take advantage of a bar that's available, or
move them from the side to behind away fans. Right.
Yeah, move them from the sides, which would increase the atmosphere for away fans. So yeah, but remember that is safe standing in section 82. It's not a seated area, and there's a big difference between safe standing.
Okay,
and
Les, your views on that? The safe standing bit was an aspect that I hadn't thought as a factor, but what it does give them a flipping advantage, I think, and it'll be the same on Saturday.
Sorry, one of my kids has just walked in. I don't.
Everybody wants a
Yeah,
piece of this. Don't
I don't think we should have opposition fans behind the goal. I don't know what the solution is, but
Yeah.
I mean, if it was just say I can make whatever decision I wanted, no money cost or anything, I'd stick them at the top of the Lansdowne in the corner, like right on the top second tier in the corner.
And my argument against that is that, you know, you've got the idiots up there. If you're in, let's say it's blocks 15 and 16 at the Lansdowne, you're going to end up with a pasty on your head. Not
Other teams do it, like Leeds do it. You know, I
Yeah.
remember going to Ellen Road a couple of years.
Yeah, anyway, we digress. Let's get into the second half and attacking that end. Cienza, he put a shot against the bar and you're thinking, hello, here we go. But we made a substitution, early substitution day, 53 minutes. Chris Honor said after the match, he thought Reece had his poorest game that he's seen for us this season. He looked off it. His touch wasn't there. The timing and those comments on Reece. Dave, what did you think?
Southampton started well in the second half. They had the one off the bar. They had the one from the corner. And that strike, by the way, was so hard that basically Vitek was guessing. You know, he moves to the side hoping he's going to go there and it goes where he's already standing. It's that powerful a strike.
Yeah.
And they probably should have scored from the header. And to be honest, we were in the game. We were taking punches, but we were holding on, but we needed something. To be honest, when I saw Armstrong coming on, my first instinct was, is this the right game script for him? Is the pitch wide enough? Is the game open? But my goodness, what an impact he had yesterday. Incredible impact. And if you offer me that every single time without goals, sign me up. That was an outstanding display from him.
Okay. Les, do you concur?
Yeah, absolutely. Am I allowed to say something positive about Brian Tinian?
By all means.
I don't,
Go on then. But it's on your head,
people watching. He got a lot of stick for what he said about Armstrong in the week, and it's rare that someone comes out in such a public forum and gives a player or two players an ultimatum. But actually, we're at a point now where he needs a rocket up his backside, and Tinian gave him a rocket up his backside. And since then, the last two performances have been two of his better performances. I thought he was excellent yesterday, and he was intelligent, which is rare for him. He was direct. He terrified the defence. And do we win that game if Armstrong doesn't come on? Possibly not, because he came on at 1-1.
Yes,
Reece is a class footballer, but he's not going to be great every 90 minutes. I'm not sure he's someone who can play 90 minutes 3 times in a week. Do you know what I mean?
No.
So I think he was very good when he came on, Armstrong.
Yeah, Dave, I've let you off lightly there because you said, "Am I going to mention how critical you were of his performance?" So I let you off very lightly there. Mark, Armstrong. I mean, his physical presence was there, and just jumping forward, he had that chance in the 83rd minute, put through by McCrory. Good save by McCarthy, but that's the player that Brian Tinian thought we'd signed, that is raw but has got potential. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's had a lot more belief, a lot more confidence. I mean, he's played in games where the ball's bounced off him. His positional play and his tracking back has been absolutely negligible. And we've all berated him because his performances have been poor and his head's not been there at all. But last night, I mean, the manager's got the confidence to put him on 8 minutes into the second half. So there's plenty of time for it to go wrong and us to be ineffective, because he just hasn't justified his place, apart from that brief substitute appearance against Norwich. So he needs the ball in front of him. He can hold players off. Unlike Jacobson Reece, he can't really play with his back to goal and hold on to the ball that way, but play the ball in front of him, and he gives you a really good option. And that's what he did, bringing players into play and pushing us up the pitch and winning lots of free kicks, because once he can shield the ball, he can get fouled quite easily.
Something that
it takes us right up the pitch.
Something that might work in his favour. Like we've often spoke about how other attacking options seem to be released of the handcuff and enjoying their football and just going at it. With Armstrong, it looks, especially yesterday, and I was a bit critical against Norwich, but I could see that it was higher than his usual levels. Yesterday, it was just like, get the ball and drive, win the ball and hold it up. It was almost like, to hell with it. I'm just going to get it and just play on instinct. And it worked for him. He wasn't overthinking it. He wasn't overdoing it. It was just, I'm going to get the ball, I'm going towards the goal. I'm going to take the striker on, I'm going to hold it off, I'm going to lay it off. It was simple, effective, but it was always looking to attack. It wasn't overthought. It's like, we've been here a few times with Armstrong. The point is now to back it up again and again and again. The next, and what normally happens is you see a spike in improvement from him, and then he gets that next big chance on goal. And it will be that question again: does he take it or not? Because each time he doesn't take those chances, the confidence just disappears. But if he can play like that yesterday, you see a purpose. You see, wow, coming on. Wow, we have this little secret weapon in the second half.
And just to finish this Armstrong praising fest, the crowd want him to succeed because they were chanting his name, which is really good to hear. I could see Mayulu sort of on the bench, probably looking a little bit of a forlorn figure. But again, sticking with Armstrong, correct me if I'm wrong, did he do a Famara Deju-esque header when they had a corner? Somebody got up and headed the ball out. It was him doing that. And then there was another, I know we were 3-1 up at the time, but there was another bit where he picked the ball up, probably just outside our penalty area, over on the Dolman side, and he ran. He got us, he lost the ball, or they cleared it out for a throw-in, but he got us 60 yards up the pitch, just by strong running late on, where, what we didn't want was them to make it 3-2 with 5 minutes to go and then panic set in. Now, let's talk about the second goal. Dave, you take us through it. I mean, when you saw it in real time, you were watching on telly and had the benefit of replays and whatnot, but a bit of a comedy of errors, really, wasn't it?
Well, it was a momentum goal, and it was created from Armstrong. He brought that energy, and everyone else, he dragged them along with him. So he created where we're in and around the box. Yeah, it's bouncing around. The first thing to acknowledge is Borges' composure and laying it off. It was really easy for him to take a shot there when couldn't get out of his feet. Lays it off to Viner, deflection off of Armstrong, off the post, etc., etc. But Armstrong made that luck by what he brought to the side, by the little bit of chaos, a little bit of the drive, and it's a very nice finish. A third finish of 3 goals, by the way, up to this point, that were very good finishes. That you should be finishing from there, but the keeper's trying to make it difficult for him. And to me, it felt like, just from Armstrong's desire and energy along, a deserved goal.
Yeah. Les, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, with Borges, one thing I've been a bit critical of is that his decision-making in the final third hasn't always played the right ball when he's been in an attacking position. And I thought the moment the ball dropped to him, he's going to smash this with his right foot. He's going to go out of the stadium. But he laid it off, and I mean, Viner scuffed his shot. It hit Armstrong, and obviously we got a bit of luck. If I'm being pedantic, I'm not sure the goal should have stood because.
No, it should have done. It was Taylor.
But it hit Armstrong's arm.
Did it?
I thought it was his arse.
His hands were tucked into his body, and it's hit his right arm and then get off the post. And if a goal is scored from that's directly come off a hand, intentional or not, then automatically the goal should be ruled out. The fact it's coming off the post means that maybe that isn't the case, and that's just being pedantic. But it's a bit of luck, and you need a bit of luck.
Do you think, Les? Let me ask you that question. Do you think if that's in the Premier League, VAR might intervene there because it's all happening in real time? I mean, I didn't pick up. I'm going to look at it again.
Yeah. I'm a qualified ref, so I ref all around the south of England, right? And we're told if the ball hits a player's hand and leads directly to a goal, whether it's intentional or not, therefore the goal needs to be chalked off. Yeah. But the officials ain't going to spot that. Yeah. And because it then hits the post and falls to twine, it might mean that that's not relevant. I don't know. I should know, but I don't know.
No, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a goal. To be honest, I thought it came off his backside. I didn't realise his arm was in play. But if his arm is in play, then and it hits it, then no, it's not a goal. But
Mark, good finish by Twiney. I mean, I was getting stick. I was getting a lot of stick the other night, but he did finish it well, old turkey teeth, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is the ball's laid back by Borges to Viner, and he's trying to cut across the ball, but he just shanks it into Armstrong, who stood there like a standard lamp. I mean, he's laughing when the ball hits him, it hits the post. And the funnier thing is, Alex McCarthy looks at the ball and it goes between his legs. So Twine arrives on the far post, and then McCarthy's got to dive towards Twine, and he just hooks it over him into an empty net. So it's a real comedy of errors. But yeah, Armstrong doing his standard lamp, hits the post, comes back out, goes between McCarthy's legs. He's looking for the ball like somebody trying to find £5 down the back of the sofa. And there's Twine, and of course, Southampton are appealing either for offside.
They're appealing for something
because Taylor Harwood.
It seemed to be a while.
Taylor Harwood Bettis plays them onside. But yeah, VAR might have got involved if it's a Premier League game. It all happens in real time. You can get away with things in the Championship. I didn't think it hit him on the hands.
Well, we're
but
probably all
that's
going to have a look
slow
at that.
motion. But yeah, you're right, Les. If it did, regardless of whether it was intentional or not, if it did hit his hand and led to a goal, then it would be chalked off. But if that was the case, they didn't spot it. But who cares?
Now, Dave, you pick me up sometimes or other people have picked me up on text feeds in the past when is a good save? In fact, no, it was Saturday against Norwich, that save that Vitek did where he got down to his left when Norwich should have scored. And somebody said, well, that's a routine save. And I'd say, well, no, it isn't. And I said last night that Vitek produced saves at key stages of the game. And he did one literally 2 minutes after we'd gone in front, and I was in line with it, and it was that Cienza again. He put in a left foot shot, and it had curve to it, and it was through a crowd of players, and he just got down and got a hand to it. I mean, I don't know if you recall that particular save, and it was routine, but it was timely, wasn't it?
What stood out to me for that save, if it's the one I believe you're on about, is the fact that he holds it. He doesn't let it rebound. He also makes it, and there is an element of that he does make that look routine because I expect him to save that by his own standards. I didn't think the shot was going to beat him at any point. But it's the holding it that for me is the next step up because there's no danger of a rebound. He gets down, he's sharp, and he makes the difficult look easy. And that's why sometimes it can be quite difficult to judge class saving what is routine. Because that's just what he is as a keeper. He's one of the best keepers I've seen at Ashton Gate, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. He's going to get hero stages like Basso did if he carries on like that. Les, good save, or is it just a keeper doing his job when you get one for that? I was more concerned that it was a good save, not an outstanding save, a good save at a key point in the game.
You expect him to save it, and if he doesn't save it, questions are going to be asked. Same with the ones at Norwich. I mean, he got a lot of credit for Norwich, but I'm looking at those saves and I'm thinking, these are the saves.
But Max had the propensity to spill those a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, but Vitek's a better keeper, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Mark, what did you think of referee Anthony Backhouse last night?
I think he let the game flow. Didn't really notice him needed to. If you don't notice a referee, as always said, he has a decent game. Let the game flow, and it was a good, exciting Championship match. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, not a referee.
Yeah, Dave, you were raising a little clapped hand there.
I'd say probably the best ref of the season so far. Took his time on some. There was decision with Sykes, for example. He was always going to give a free kick, but it was more: is this a free kick? Is it a penalty? Took his time, had a discussion, and even the body language wasn't in a way of "this is about me." It was just an easy ref, and he made good decisions. I can't think of anything he got so terribly wrong. And generally speaking, he made the right decision, or you could see why he made it. And I think the best ref of the season so far.
Interesting. Yeah, and I guess you'd agree with that as well. There's decent referee and performance. Yeah, he delayed. There was one incident, it might have been in the first half, where he delayed, and then pulled it up. But I agree, he was a good referee. Les, I'll call it the point clincher that makes it 3-1 on 64 minutes. It was an error by their player, really, but Twine was on it in a flash, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he showed good composure. He kept control of the ball. How many times you see a player through and gone, and then they take a heavy touch, and it goes straight to the keeper, or they force himself out wide. He wasn't afraid to go onto his weaker foot. When he first hit it, I thought he clipped it too high and it had gone in off the bar, but it hadn't. I mean, it come off the inside of the post, and it's great for his confidence because I thought he was perhaps low on confidence in recent weeks. So for him to get a couple of goals is really going to boost him. And yeah, composure, great finish. and we needed that goal.
And it shoved my words right back down my throat. So I'm in the same zone as I was with Andy Vyman saying all he runs around is like headless chicken, and then he scores 23 goals.
He still needs to do better, Dave. Though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad you've got me. You've bailed me out with that. But I was sat there and I said it. I've said it more than once that he needs to offer more than just being a free kick specialist. And last night he did it.
Mark, Mr. P. Sorry, Mark, you go first.
No, go on, Dave. You were questioning me, please.
Do you think that you're judging him by the right standards? Because, like, if we take goals and assists, he's at 5 and 2. This isn't like, I mean, the transfer values and everything, but you're not talking like 20, 25 million. This season he's made a good start in terms of like the statistics. But don't you see a different player this season off the ball?
I do, but he'd gone off in that run of 5 games that we had. I didn't think he was contributing enough, but he'd started that first 4 games, and I said then, we're seeing the player we thought we bought. Last night, he took 2 good goals, but he didn't really do much in the first half, in terms of overall play. And I thought, you could, when I saw Armstrong warming up, to come on as early as he did, I thought maybe he's going to try 2 up front and take either Mehmeti or Twine off, but that wasn't the case.
I always feel like Twine's in the game, even when it's off the ball. Like when you take that goal yesterday, you referred to it as an error. Reece, Anis, and Twine were at it like 2 or 3 times yesterday in the first half. They're anticipating that pass, and that's a Struber assist. Because instead of being told, hold your lines, don't jump, they're jumping on those. They're anticipating those. He saw it coming. And to me, that's a Twine goal, a Struber assist. And that's what Twine's bringing. He's invested. And some people have spoken about Twine's fitness level. We're mid-second half, and Twine is essentially breaking from his own half, anticipating something and making a goal himself. I really feel like even when Twine's off, we're seeing the best of Twine at the moment.
Mark, who was it that cocked up for Southampton there? Because it was sloppy, wasn't it?
So was it Viander or something? I think that was number 20. It's a sloppy sideways pass, and he anticipates it brilliantly. And Struber was talking about the triggers for Preston that was slightly off in the first half, and they were far better in the second half. But he bursts onto the ball and plays the ball with his right foot through, and he's looking up for support and realises there isn't any, and he has to take it on his own. Twitches the ball to his left as McCarthy comes out and clips it over the top of him with his left, and it's a cracking finish. Just off the post. Brilliant finish. Anticipates the keeper coming and just finishes it similarly to the Adam Armstrong finish, high, high over the keeper into the back of the net, and it's in as soon as it leaves his foot. But the fact that he was pressing into that position, his anticipation is brilliant, because somebody like Scott Twine should offer more an assist and goal threat, because of his transfer fee and because he is a better player than performances have suggested over the previous 5 games. So he needs to offer more goal threat. He did that last night, and his assists are better. But we know, like the rest of the side, for the first half hour, he wasn't on his game at all, and those levels weren't there.
Yeah.
But goals change games, and good luck to him. Hopefully, he can take that on Saturday.
Yeah, well, Gerhard did a double substitution with 20. It's over 20 minutes if you say time added on, although there wasn't a great deal of time added on. That saw Twine and Sykes go off, and McCrory and Peckover come on. Les, Gerhard is showing what the club really want, is give youngsters a bit of a chance. And 20 minutes when you're 3-1 up, I know some would argue that's a comfortable lead, but in Bristol City land, it's not. A big lad for a 17-year-old, but he reminded me a little bit of the build of Stokes, who's out injured at the moment. What did you think of Peckover's contribution? Dave Fev's put that it was a bit like Eamon Benarous's first game, that you could tell there was a footballer there, but he took a little bit of time to adjust to the pace. But what did you think?
Well, I think he was good off the ball. From a defensive perspective, he pressed, he worked hard. He didn't offer much on the ball, but, Twine had 90 minutes on Saturday. He's going to struggle to get, he didn't have 90 minutes, but he struggles, in my view, to play full games, especially twice in a week with his fitness. And what Peckover does, he gives you some legs and he works hard, he presses. So I think he did well. And Yeah, good to see him get some minutes, and that'll benefit him in the future.
Dave, good to see youngsters coming off the bench. He's probably given triple the amount to academy players in minutes already, Gerhard, than Liam did last season. But Peckover looked okay, I thought.
Well, it was one that they've been hinting that was coming in the fans forum, that to expect it at some point. It was telling that was the sub over you. That was the choice that was made. It was good to see that 20 minutes. Out of possession, I felt like he was disciplined and stuck to the task. On the ball, it was a bit like welcome to the big leagues. You could tell that he was surprised. Every time he got possession, someone was on him in seconds.
Yeah.
And that takes a while to adjust. And 3-1 is not an out of sight game. Southampton they weren't offering so much of a threat in that second half. It's still 3-1. It only takes one goal, and before you know it, you're under pressure. But it's something that we need to see as a club, bring the players through, put them under pressure and find out who they are in those moments. And ultimately, we can say we've introduced academy minutes, we've won the game, a double tick, which is what you want. You want both, and nice work. Can I just take a pause on a second? Because I feel like there's one player we haven't highlighted enough yesterday, George Tanner. What a performance yesterday. He was sound on the ball, he was composed, and he's channeling that inner right back on him when he's getting forward now. It's the game made for him, but I've just seen an improvement in the last 2 games of that's the kind of footballer you want. Do you agree with that, Mr. P?
I totally agree with that. That we've been critical of him on the podcast, and yesterday second half he was over my side, the Lansdowne side, and the amount of hard tackling he was doing. He was getting stuck in there. And look, I got to pick up, and we need to wrap up in a minute. Well, within 5 minutes, I need to pick up on what Lee Churches has said here on the text feed. He's excited by the fact that we can keep picking up points and performances and can still be boosted by having lots of quality players when all back from injury. And that's the thing. We've got players out. There's at least 4 players that are out now, at least 4, that would be definite starters. But the way some of the players, if Borges carries on playing like he's done, somebody else said on the text feed earlier, he's done 2 lots of 90 minutes and he's another Duracell bunny there. Cameron Pring, much as we all love him, his availability is a bit questionable. He's not going to just walk back into that side. The bench, come the middle of January, I know McNally won't be back then, but come the middle of January, that bench is going to look strong. Yeah, and if we're still there or thereabouts, we're one decent player. Struber says top 2 isn't beyond us. But look, let's roll on very quickly to Birmingham. Sorry, Dave, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, if we can just hold in there while we get these players back, which allows us to rotate players,
that's it.
This season could really be something special.
Oh, definitely. All right, rolling on to Birmingham. They're a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. I don't think Tom Brady will be watching his charges at Ashton Gate, or the other guy, Wagner, whatever his name is. Interestingly, I saw on X an interesting spectator at the game last night was Ralph Hasenhüttl, the ex-Southampton manager, who I think knows Gerhard Struber. So it was good to see him catching a bit of the Ashton Gate action. But on to Birmingham, bit of a mixed bag this season. I'm worried about Jay Stansfield because he's got a good goal-scoring record. But at the weekend, they lost at home to Hull, who we beat 4-2, who beat Leicester 2-1 last night. So Hull, no pushovers there. Finally from you, Mark, Birmingham on Saturday. Be absolutely fantastic if we could wrap that up and get another 3 points there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a team that we generally don't have a good home record against. I think apart from it was a 4-2 win about 3 seasons ago, we generally tend to lose or draw against them. So this was deemed the tougher of 2 games. It was good that we got 3 points on the board against Southampton, but it's going to be tough against them. They're going to be bringing, they've probably taken out their full allocation. And watch out, Weston-super-Mare, if the piers are still open. I'd say narrow home win. I go for, say, 2-1. Usually concede at home. I'm going to go for 2-1 home win. Don't expect Armstrong to start, but he's a great finisher to have on the bench. Don't see him really making any changes. I start with the same 11. Barring any injuries.
And it'd be fabulous if we can get 3 in a row. Do you think we can do it? Birmingham a little bit up and down. Their manager under pressure.
I think it's going to be really tough because they play a style of football that we tend to struggle with, especially at home. they're going to have a lot of energy in the centre of midfield, and we're going to have the same two in the middle. I'm slightly concerned we're going to get overrun. Armstrong is not probably going to have the space to run in behind when he comes on, because they play a much deeper line than Southampton do. So for me, you want to win your home games. The fact we've won our last two gives us a bit of leeway, but I think it's going to be really tough.
Tough game. Dave, your thoughts just to finish today's episode?
All about the energy in the legs. It's great. It's Wednesday. We just finished a game and I can't wait for the next one already. But it's all about the energy in the legs. Do we go with the same side or changes needed? If we go into that game and we're lackluster, we'll drop points. If we go with full energy, there's no reason why we can't pick up 3 points.
And this ability to rotate. I mean, Dave, I don't know enough about the Birmingham team, but they got incredible strength in depth that they can rotate 4 or 5 players where we're only capable of rotating 2 at the moment. What are your thoughts, Dave, on that?
I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you that right now. But what I can say is, from our perspective, it's hard for us to rotate, and eventually that does catch up with you. You can't keep going game after game. You don't know when it catches, but before you know it, you're saying, "Oh, they look leggy today," and it's something that Struber has to try and manipulate and manage. And to be fair to him, in the last couple of games, Twine's been coming off early. Reece came off yesterday. Peakover got a debut yesterday. He's doing a good job in that regard with the poker hand that he's got.
Okay. Well, look, guys, thank you for your contribution, Les, Dave, and Mark. Thanks to everybody who's watched us live. And I think we had not far short of 2,000 views of on Norwich, the verdict episode. So everybody who's watching on YouTube, hope you're enjoying it as much as we enjoy doing it. So Dave, Mark, and Les, thanks for your contribution today. We'll be reviewing City versus Birmingham at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. That's our regular slot there. I've been invited to talk on Tilton Talk, which is one of their fan podcasts. So I'll put a link up to that. But in the meantime, everybody who's watching today, have a good rest of the week. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast,